Hi, I'm Liz.
I'm John, my bad. And we are your hosts this year for Poly Live. We are very excited to get the season going. Thank you for tuning in and watching us tonight.
All right, well, what is Poly Live? That's the question on everybody's mind. So, John, do you have an answer for me?
So Poly Live is an online web show that we put on for you where viewers can interact live with the hosts through a little chat bar, and we can answer all of your questions and provide you information about Cal Poly to get you stoked about coming to Cal Poly next year.
And if your question is relevant to our guest, then they'll send us a little question over the iPad, and we'll be able to ask your questions live on air. But you might not just have questions during the show. If you have questions otherwise, you can always visit our Facebook page, and that's when you can get your questions answered outside of, well, our showtime.
Like us on Facebook.
All right, well, today our guest is Terrence Harris from Admissions, and he's going to give us some really great information. But before we go to him, we want to talk about who we are. So, John, why'd you choose Cal Poly?
So my name is John. I'm a third year geology major. I'm from Napa, California. I chose to come to Cal Poly because I had a great Soar experience. When I came down to Soar, I met all the professors. I felt very welcomed. I was ready to hit the ground running with my major, so I was really excited about that. And plus, it's beautiful down here. What about you, Liz?
Well, I took a Poly Reps tour, and I was lucky enough to have a Poly Rep who was a communication studies major, which is my major. And it just felt like this great twist of fate to have this person who was so helpful and so happy and so excited to be giving me my campus tour. And I don't know, just the energy around campus really brought me in, and it's been a fantastic 3 years being here, and I'm so excited that all of you are coming to join us at Cal Poly. So we have some other words from students around Cal Poly about why they love it, and so we're going to go to our first pre-recorded video, Word on the Street, which was made by one of our very own crew members.
Word on the Street, it's a little video where we can, interview other Cal Poly students and ask them what they think about Cal Poly, so you can get other opinions from other people other than just us two, because we really do love Cal Poly a lot. So here's our video, Word on the Street.
My favorite thing about Cal Poly are the people. I feel like you can totally be yourself, and they've all ripped up their cool cards, which I think is awesome.
So my favorite thing about Cal Poly is definitely the people. From the second that I came to this campus when I was a high school senior, the reason it made me want to come here was because everybody was so friendly, so welcoming, even before I was a student at this school.
So I chose Cal Poly because I love the area. I love being outdoors, and it offers a lot of different activities to do, essentially.
I've learned how to be unapologetically myself, and that people will respect you more for that.
Actually, I just picked up surfing. You can go hiking, and there's like just a bunch of different trails and bike trails, and that's really the reason I love it.
I really am happy that I am surrounded by so many great people that care, and also people who really value their education, and so that's what I like most about Cal Poly.
I would say that I learned how to communicate. I really connected with my peers, and from that I've just become such better as a person, and I've grown as a leader, just knowing how to talk to people.
I've definitely learned to be a leader here. I've involved myself in a lot of leadership organizations, and in each one of them I've definitely learned something different from each, and it's really developed me into a really well-rounded leader, and I really thank Cal Poly for that, and I get to bring that into the real world.
Well, Terrence, you're from Admissions. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do there?
I am the Associate Director of Admissions, so I work with our staff that answers all the phone calls and the emails and all that good stuff, that process the transcripts, and just trying to help make sure that the process is as smooth as we can. And I also work with our Poly Reps, our university ambassadors, here on campus.
So I bet you're getting a lot of phone calls this time of year. People are, accepting their admission to Cal Poly, and I know they have a lot of questions. we're going to actually kick off our interview with some questions from the audience that we've got before our show started. So the first one was, do I need to send partial transcripts?
So you only need to send partial transcripts if you've been requested to do so. Make sure you check your to-do list on the My Cal Poly portal through the Student Center. And if it says partial transcript there, please send your partial transcript. If not, don't worry about it. Just make sure you send a final transcript no later than July 15th. But we really like those to be sent as soon as you have them.
All right. Well, I know that right now students are looking and they're thinking, okay, I've committed, now what? What are some, good next steps for a student to take?
Well, the first thing is making sure that students finish off strong in their high school or community colleges, wherever they're at. And once you've gotten done with high school or community college, make sure you get those transcripts to us as soon as possible. And it's really important that students just continue to check their to-do list. Anything that we need of you, we'll be asking of you there. We're looking at things like some students will need to take the ELM or the EPT, those placement tests. You may have to submit AP scores if you've passed an AP exam. And once you have that information, just the sooner you send it, the better.
All right. Well,
we actually have a quick question from one of our viewers named Natalie. She says, how do we know that they do receive our transcripts?
So eventually when we receive your transcripts, it will fall off of your to-do list. So when it's no longer there, it means we've actually processed it. I know that sometimes students get a little anxious because they've sent things and they're like, I still see it on my to-do list. And that's because we are receiving thousands of transcripts right now. And it does take our office some time to actually process those, usually about a couple of weeks before it will fall off of the to-do list. But once we've processed it, it will no longer appear on the to-do list. That's a good thing.
Awesome. Well, I know transfer students are in a bit of a different situation with transcripts. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, the biggest difference with transfer students is that a lot of times they've attended multiple community colleges or another university. It's really important that they send transcripts from every institution that they've attended. Same thing, they want to send them as soon as possible. July 15th is the latest that we ask that you send them, but the sooner you send them, the more prepared we can be to make sure that the transition is smooth. And then hopefully, again, students have made sure that they've taken all the classes they said they were going to take and all those good things. And as long as that's taken place, the transcript process should be pretty smooth.
All right. Well, I know that you guys are not just getting questions about transcripts at the admissions office. You're, getting questions from about all over campus. So, what is kind of a common question that you're being asked a lot?
You asked one of them, what's the next thing to do?
Yeah.
And everybody, like I said, they're anxious, they're excited, they're in a holding pattern and a waiting pattern, and that's normal for right now. A lot of students are wondering about things along the lines of housing or orientation programs. And I know you guys will talk about a lot of that through Poly Live, but those kind of invitations will be coming for programs like Soar and WOW, and we definitely encourage students to participate in those programs. It helps the transition, helps to make sure that they're acquainted with the university and with the town and those type of things. So the biggest thing I tell people, make sure you're checking the to-do list, but also check your email. Cal Poly loves to communicate via email.
Definitely.
We don't send things in the snail mail. It's coming via email. So if you're checking your email regularly, you should be keeping up to date. We recently sent out a survey to a lot of students, asking them about information on college courses that they may have taken or their interest in maybe some of the general education courses. We want students to participate in that survey. We've been getting good feedback so far, but make sure you follow through with that stuff because we're trying to help put students in the best situation possible for things like block scheduling.
And going off the surveys, one of our viewers named Nicholas has a question addressing the surveys that we received a couple weeks ago. If we don't know if we have AP credit for a class, what should we respond with?
Good question, Nicholas. Be as literal as possible. So when that question is asked, if you currently don't have any AP credit, that's the answer that you should give. And you don't need to worry about waiting to answer the survey until after you receive your AP test scores. When you've gotten your test scores for the tests that were just recently taken in May, we will download those scores and add them to your profile, basically. But if you have stuff from your junior year or maybe even your sophomore year, make sure you answer the question according to that. So take it very literally.
Okay. And Natalie asks again another question. Is it easier if we hand deliver our final transcripts?
You don't have to hand deliver your final transcripts. If you are here in the local area and you wish to, that's perfectly fine. But the process in us getting the transcripts, it works. If your campus uses something like Parchment or Docufied, where you can electronically submit the transcripts through a secure company, that's something that we accept also. Not you emailing an attachment of your transcripts, but an official document from one of those companies like Parchment or Docufied. That'll work too.
Well, I know before my freshman year here, I was so nervous about the block scheduling. I was, when am I going to get this schedule? Do you have any kind of recommendations or answers about those schedules that come out?
Yeah, first and foremost, the block scheduling, it's being done really to help you as a student. We want to make sure that we get you off on the right foot. So the block scheduling is really designed to be an aid more than anything to the student. The schedules will come out in early August. That's when students will actually be able to see what their schedule looks like. Early to mid-August, you'll be able to see that and really get a good understanding of what's taking place.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
It was very exciting. I have one more viewer question for you. Emily asked, what GPA would cause our admissions to be revoked?
When we issue conditional admission, which every student is conditionally admitted, and we say that you must maintain the academic standard that allowed for your admission to Cal Poly, what we mean is no senioritis, right? So
Senioritis.
we're looking for triggers. We're looking for students. We're looking at students who maybe did not pass classes with a grade of C or better, or a student who was a 4.2 student and suddenly they're a 2.1 student. Those are the type of things that will catch our attention. Somebody who had a 3.9 GPA and it slipped to a 3.6 or a 3.7, that's not necessarily a reason for concern, but somebody who received D's in their senior year or that type of thing, that's when your application would go for a further review and we'd have to make a determination about the space.
Okay.
So hopefully that doesn't happen.
I know a lot of students come in, here at Cal Poly, we come in as a certain major. Can they change their major now? How do they start that process when they get here?
There is a process to change the major. Cal Poly has a philosophy of learn by doing, which I'm sure these guys have heard a million times. You guys have experienced it over and over, right? And the reason that we have students picking their major right away, and the reason we have the learn by doing philosophy is, again, to benefit the student. We want you to come in and get going in a major right away. So that's why we force the student to pick a major on that application. Now, we realize that students at some point may have a change of heart. It happens, right? So there is a process in place for changing your major. You can't change your major until you've been here at least 1 quarter, and then you have to basically go through an agreement with the major that you're interested in moving to, and they usually have requirements such as classes to take, that you've had a strong GPA. You might have to take a few classes and get certain grades in those courses, but there is a process that's outlined. It's on a website. You create that change of major agreement, you follow through with it, and then it also depends on that major's ability to actually accept any new students to that major.
Awesome. Another viewer question from Jonathan. It's a great name, by the way. He's taking a summer course right now at a community college, and he was wondering if he can send in his transcripts after the deadline of July 15th if the class is still in progress.
So that's a bit of a technical question. I'm going to make some assumptions, so you have to follow along with the assumptions. I'm assuming that Jonathan's a current high school student who's graduating this May or this June, who's also taking a community college course. For a high school student, you can take a community college course this summer and still be considered a first-time freshman. However, I would hope that that class isn't something that was being used for satisfying one of the admissions requirements, because those requirements do need to be satisfied by the spring. If you have taken an additional class that you want to get a head start on some of your general education as an incoming freshman, that's perfectly fine. You want to submit those transcripts. We won't be able to apply it to block scheduling, quite possibly, if you don't send it to us until August. We've already made your schedule at that point, but you could still get credit for that class and have it applied to your degree.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Well, I know that you said that you lead the polyreps, and they are our on-campus tour guides. Personally, I know that they're known for their very corny jokes. Yeah. Do you have a favorite corny polyrep joke?
Wow. Well, The PolyRep tours would not be the same without a few good cow jokes. So there's always things like, what do you call a cow with 3 legs? Tri-tip. What do you call a cow with 2 legs? Lean beef. And what do you call a cow with 1 leg?
I don't know. What do you call it?
Steak. And what do you call a cow with no legs? Ground beef, of course. So, you know, we got to keep the agricultural flavor going.
Definitely. Yeah,
Absolutely.
It is Cal Poly. Well,
Those are good.
yeah,
Those are funny.
those aren't corny. Those are good. So, you know, a lot of students, you know, come in and they're worried about the cost of attendance. Do you know if the cost of attendance is guaranteed through the 4 years, if it can change? I know that's a very popular question.
The cost of attendance is not guaranteed, so it is subject to change. There's nothing that I know of right now that says specifically that the cost is going to change a year out or 2 years out, but that is something that could change. There is not a 4-year guarantee or anything along those lines with the cost of attendance. On the flip side, the great thing about Cal Poly is when you look at the cost of attendance here to comparative institutions, you know, the type of schools that students are going to if they don't choose to come to Cal Poly, we are a very good bargain for the high quality of education and for the outcome of our students.
Ron?
We're on. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome back. So, if you remember the Super Bowl, Beyonce blew out the lights.
Yep.
We are basically Beyonce. Is what we have decided.
We're flawless.
Flawless. I like it. Yes.
Too powerful.
Too much power to handle. Too hot to handle. We are
Awkward.
Beyonce.
Very awkward.
But we're back with Terrence, and we know that you have questions, so we're just gonna keep going through. We have a viewer asking, where do they find their AP scores, and what's accepted, and how does that work?
So the scores are through College Board. They should be able to find their scores through College Board. In terms of what's accepted, if you look on the Office of the Registrar website, it actually has a matrix that breaks down all of the AP scores. The general rule is that a score of 3 or better would give you 4 units of credit towards a specific course and 5 units towards electives. That's a general rule, but there is a very specific matrix for all the scores. Sometimes if you get a 4 or 5, it gives you more credit or those type of things. So the Office of the Registrar website, good way to check into that.
Yeah.
Kind of bouncing off that question, Austin asked, he took over 10 AP tests, and he's heard that people with that amount of AP tests can start as a sophomore with sophomore standing. Is that possible?
It all depends on the credits that you actually received. If you've passed enough tests and taken college courses, you certainly could come in with sophomore standing. And essentially that means you've got more than 45 degree applicable units or that are going somewhere that actually can impact your progress towards degree. So that definitely happens. We have a lot of students that are very proactive, that have taken a lot of community college courses and or AP exams and passed them with that score of 3 or better. And hey, you're one step closer to graduation.
Yeah, that happened to me, and I was able to use my extra time to get a minor and study abroad. So it really freed up some time in my schedule and allowed me to kind of have a little bit of flexibility. So good job, Austin. Congratulations on all those tests. And you know, one other thing we mentioned a bit earlier that students that, you know, are looking forward to is orientation. So do you know when those signups come out?
Yeah, they should be coming out actually pretty soon. So just again, be on the lookout via email for invitation. The first one that you'll get is about the Soar program, or the first orientation program is the Soar program. And then after that will be the WOW program. As I mentioned, both very excellent programs. It was a long time ago, you know, but back in the day, I actually went through those programs myself. I am a Cal Poly alumni, and I definitely remember meeting people at WOW that have been friends ever since then, and really it just being a great opportunity to get comfortable with campus before we had to start classes and the grind of the quarter. It was a really good introduction to campus, so I really encourage students to participate if at all possible.
Yeah, we're both SOAR leaders, so you can come hang out with us.
You'll see us over summer, maybe.
We'd love to see you. And we have a few more viewer questions. Do you want to go over those?
Trey asked, what is the process for actually sending in college course transcripts?
You just request that the institution that you went to submit the transcripts to Cal Poly. You could, it depends on the college. Some of them will just send them directly to the institution. Most of them will. Sometimes you can pick them up yourself and mail them. As long as they're in a sealed envelope from the institution, we're going to be fine with those transcripts as official. If they've been opened, they're no longer official, so those won't count. They just need to be in a sealed envelope directly from the institution.
And then one more viewer question. How do we send information about our citizenship status? Is that through mail, or is there a different process with that?
Students who have residency or citizenship status should contact the admissions office directly. You can email admissions@calpoly.edu or call 805-756-2311. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday between the hours of 12 and 5. You're going to be working with an advisor specifically on your status and your situation, so it'd be good to make sure you touch base with the admissions office and ensure that we are working hand in hand with getting the proper documentation that we need.
We'll definitely make sure to throw up the admissions contact info on our Facebook page after the show. So if you need to contact admissions or you have any follow-up questions, you can use that information. And while you're there, like us on Facebook.
Like us on Facebook, yeah.
All right, well, a lot of students have also asked you, how long will it take them to graduate? That's a hard question.
It all depends. I mean, most students, if they are taking 15 to 17 units a quarter and passing those classes, then they should be able to graduate on time. A lot of programs are 180 units towards degrees, so that would literally mean 15 units a quarter over 4 years, assuming you came in with 0 college credit and 0 AP credit. You'd be out of the door. Other programs that have a slightly higher unit count, again, if you came in with 0 units and you were taking 15 units per quarter, then it might be 4 1/4. So the summer might be a great option. But again, most of our students come in with some college or AP credit, so it really does allow them to stay on time for graduation. A high percentage of our students are graduating in 4 1/4, 4 2/4. That's fairly normal here at Cal Poly.
That's awesome. And do you know off the top of your head what the retention rate is?
Ooh, I do know that it is around 94%, but don't quote me. It's between 92 and 94%.
Wow, that's really high. That's awesome.
It's definitely a high retention rate.
Let's see. Shelly asked, if city college classes are listed on the high school transcript, do we need the city college, transcript? It's still in progress. I apologize for that. Do we need do we have to have the college transcript sent in?
Right. I knew where you were going, so that's all right. We would definitely encourage a student to submit the college transcript in order to get the college credit. So there's a lot of students who might have taken a city college course in order to satisfy a high school requirement. And that's something that is satisfied by putting it on the high school transcript. But we also encourage you to have that transcript sent from the college, because that's validating that this was actually a college course taken at a college or a university. That way we know that the credit is what it should be. Sometimes those things aren't clearly defined on a high school transcript, so it leaves room for guessing, I guess. And we don't like to guess. We need facts.
Okay. Well, you said you're a Cal Poly alumni.
I am.
And so I'm sure you know the ins and outs of San Luis Obispo. So we would like to ask you the hardest question of the day.
Ooh.
If you only had 24 hours left in San Luis Obispo, what would you do?
Wow. Got 24 hours left in San Luis Obispo. So I'm probably not going to sleep. We'll start with that. You're going to spend all 24 hours making the most of it. I would start and end my day with a hike. So we'd start off with a hike up Madonna, and the day would probably end with a hike up. We'd make it the P, a little easier than Bishop's Peak late at night. So I would also make sure that I headed out to Avila. I would eat at Firestone Grill. Got to have one last tri-tip before I leave. I would hopefully be here on like a Saturday afternoon when there's a Cal Poly football game, so I catch a little bit of the Cal Poly football game. I would have one last swim in the rec center before I went out to the beach. Man, how much time do I have left in my day?
A couple hours.
I would take a trip out to Montana de Oro. I said the beach, but that's a little different. I got to hit up Avila and Montana de Oro.
That's a lot of driving.
Yeah, it's all right. We got to make the most of the 24 hours. Yeah. I'd head downtown to Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory, and after I went to Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory, I'd also make sure that I went to Bally's because I'm old school. But you know, there's other yogurt places in town as well that are great. How am I doing?
You're doing good. I am impressed.
Okay, we'd stay busy. We'd stay busy.
You're sure you're not sleeping?
I'm not gonna sleep, and then yeah, I end at the P.
That's a good 24 hours.
The final bow.
Yeah.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
Okay, so we actually have a couple more viewer questions before we get out of here.
Okay.
Perva asked, are summer courses required to graduate, I'm assuming on time, or?
Summer courses are not required to graduate. The unit loads that I was talking about earlier, that assumes that a student is going fall, winter, and spring quarters, taking 15 units a quarter through those, 15 to 17 units a quarter through those quarters. Summer is an option. It's a great opportunity for some students to take courses here through extended education during the summertime. Others choose to just relax during the summertime. Some students choose to go back to their hometown and maybe take a community college or an online course. It's not required that a student take courses over the summer, though. Certainly not.
Awesome, thank you for that. And then one more from Che asked, so with the whole transcript, when you're looking at the GPA of senior year, are you looking at the weighted or the non-weighted GPA?
Cal Poly looks at a weighted GPA. In your admissions process, we looked at a weighted GPA from grades 9 through 11. So if you're taking AP or honors courses, we're looking at that as well. But again, I don't want students to be too fearful of the GPA in their senior year. We're hoping that folks didn't have senioritis and completely tank their senior year. This is not a nitpicking thing where students who just had a slight drop are under any sort of pressure. This is more so for students who haven't passed classes or have had significant drops in their senior year.
Well, just few last questions. I know that admissions really focuses on, prospective students coming in, but what does admissions do for me as a current student?
Well, a lot of the time we're passing the torch on to Office of the Registrar and all the great services that we have on campus. From a functional perspective, students who do come to Cal Poly and at some point are looking to change their residency status, that's something that you would do through our office, so you would see admissions for that. If for whatever reason you came to Cal Poly and you had to take more than 2 quarters off, let's say you took a complete year off and wanted to come back to Cal Poly, that readmission process would go through our office. But a lot of the services are being done by other entities on campus. The other thing that we're doing for you and you is bringing in all these additional great students to help maintain the strength of your degree. We thank all of you new students. This is a high profile, average GPAs of about 3.97 for a first-time freshman and a 13.18 combined on the math and critical reading SAT. So the more we continue to bring in great students like that, the value of your degree and my degree, they hold strong, and it continues to give Cal Poly the great reputation for being an outstanding academic school.
Yeah, we've got some high achievers out there.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Terrence, for joining us. I know I have got a ton of information out of that.
I learned a lot too.
Yeah, and I hope that our viewers did as well. Before we go, we have another video from Sam.
So throughout our whole season, we'll have Sam's Corner. One of our friends, Sam Marchant, makes videos, and some of the things you'll never even have heard of before. And today we have Sam's 7.5 facts.
7.5.
7.5.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Sam's Corner. Throughout this Poly Live season, I will be providing you with unmatched insight into some of the greatest things that Cal Poly and the San Luis Obispo community have to offer. Let's start it off this first week with Sam's top 7.5 fun facts. Let's go! The first day of class at Cal Poly was October 1st, 1903, but the first bachelor's degree wasn't awarded until May 28th, 1942. And you thought 5 years was a long time. The Wright brothers' first flight was supposed to be in San Luis Obispo, but that idea never took off. Some notable senior projects to come out of Cal Poly include Kinko's and Jamba Juice. was created in San Luis Obispo after a hotel named the Motor Inn. Cal Poly stands for California Polytechnic. The famous Cal Poly P, rising above campus, is over 60 feet tall. There are no drive-thrus in San Luis Obispo. Can I get a number 1? There's only one escalator in San Luis Obispo.
And it's in Barnes & Noble.
I guess you could say their presence is on the decline. Those are all the facts that I have time for this week, but keep watching Poly Live for more exclusive information in Sam's Corner.
All right, so we have one last question from the audience that we want to answer before we end this show. So Logan asks, what's the difference between Soar and WOW? So Soar is summer orientation programming that has a focus on academics. There's a portion for your parents and supporters as well, so they get some orientation, and it's a great way to explore SLO. There's a little downtown portion. Do you want to talk about WOW?
All right, WOW is honestly my favorite time of the year. Like I love it. It's the very, very first week of school, so it's gonna be before the first week of school. It's mid-September. It's just a week long of just orientational activities. You're exploring San Luis Obispo again. Some of the topics you cover are similar as in SOAR, but there's so many like academic sessions, things like with like really getting ready to go and hit the ground running in your major. You can do things with like your what's the starts with a T. What's that like?
John, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm forgetting. So anyways, basically, it's a week long, just the most fun I ever had. I forgot of a word I was going to say. What's the word?
There's some awareness programming. Awareness. That doesn't start with a T.
Nope.
There's some awareness programming, as well as you are grouped within your residence hall. So you really get to meet people where you're with who you're going to be living for the next 9 months. And it's a really fantastic opportunity to make some social connections on campus. So both programs are very strong and build off one another. They're designed to go together. So those signups will be coming live by early next week.
Early June.
And we are both SOAR leaders and WOW leaders, so we are really excited to meet all of you, and we hope that you sign up by early next week.
Awesome. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Facebook. First off, like us on Facebook. If you have any questions about anything that was not talked about on the show, you can go ahead and ask that question on Facebook. We'll try and get that answered for you, either before the next show or in 2 weeks at our next filming. Let's see what else. Oh, and re-enter us. So I'm John again, and we're excited to be your hosts for season 7 of Poly Live. This is Liz.
I'm Liz. I forgot to tell you my major earlier. I'm communication studies. I'm a statistics minor, and just one thing on Facebook and one thing about our show is it is student run. So the people answering your questions as moderators, the people who are answering your questions on Facebook, they're real students, and they're really excited to help you. And if maybe you missed something or you want to go back and rewatch the episode, the part when the lights go out is pretty funny. We do put our episodes up on YouTube, and we'll cut them up into smaller segments so you can really pick and choose what parts you want to see and what information you want to get. All right.
That's all we got for you.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us for our first episode of Poly Live. We will have another episode in 2 weeks. We'll have our ASI new president, Joy Sullivan, on. She's going to talk about some leadership opportunities within ASI. We'll have some fantastic information on sports on campus, and really it's all about how to get you involved. So, for the little end of our episode, we're going to invite our sound guy, the king of acoustics, Jack, on to play you a little song. And while you are listening to his beautiful serenade, we ask that you please take our survey so we can improve the show for you. Thank you so much.
Condescendingly, take a seat, take your life, plot it out in black and white. I never dreamed of the prom kings and the drama queens. I like to think the best of me, still hiding up my sleeve. They love to tell you out there's no such thing as the real world, just a lie you've got to rise above. So the good boys and girls take the so-called right track, feed in my hats, grab the credits and make the transfers. They listen to fish but they can't find the answers. And all of our parents, they're getting older, wonder if they wish for anything better, or while in their memories, time and tragedies, they love to tell you to stay inside the lines. Well, now something's better on the other side. Thanks for tuning in to Poly Live. I wanna run through the halls in my high school. I wanna scream at the top of my lungs. I just found out there's no such thing as a real world, just a lie you got to rise above. Oh, I am invincible. Oh, we are invincible, yeah. We are invincible as long as I have a mind. Thank you very much. We are Poly Live.